Hi, my name is Marco van Wieren and I am the main developer of the WPO365 plugin for WordPress. A plugin that helps you integrate the exciting Microsoft Cloud with SharePoint, Power BI, but also with Entra ID into your WordPress website. In today's video, I would like to show you just how easy it is to enable your users in your Entra ID directory to sign in with that account into your WordPress website. So let's get started. I will begin by installing the WPO365 login plugin. For that, I will go to Plugins, Add Plugin, and I will search for WPO365. And the first plugin that I'll see is the WPO365 login plugin, which is the one that I require. So I click Install Now, and I will need to activate it. Once activated, it gives me a configuration menu, either from the Install Plugins overview page or in the WP Admin menu bar. The first page that is loaded when I start with the configuration of WPO365 is the dashboard, the features dashboard. I can see what features are available to me when I have the free version installed, and some of the other features, however, require a premium plugin. It also gives me access to WPO365 Insights. Insights is a way of seeing what matters when it happens. It tracks key events of WPO365, such as logins, email sent, and when a user was created. I will do a separate video on WPO365 Insights, but let's enable it for the moment anyway. And last but not least, there is WPO365 Health Messages. If the plugin detects an error, it will report it as a health message. And it will show it on a panel. It will automatically pop up whenever there is an error when you open the configuration pages. But you can also click the button just to force opening the panel and check for any errors. Well, we've not done anything yet, so we don't have any errors either. So I click Dismiss All or Close, and I'll start with what I actually want to do, which is the configuration of single sign-on. So I click the menu and I select Single Sign-On. At the top of the Single Sign-On configuration page, you'll find a number of convenient buttons that help you navigate the WPO365 document repository. There are links for more information where you'll find a description of the feature, but also links to tutorials. Let's start with the integration, actually with the registration of our WordPress website in Entra ID. And let's make sure that the single sign-on toggle button here is enabled. When I want to integrate with Microsoft Entra ID, I first need to specify the type of that Microsoft Entra ID. The default type would be an Entra ID, a directory for the employees of a company, the workforce. Other options include a tenant for customers, basically Azure AD B2C, and the successor of it, like Entra External ID, or a tenant specifically for the US government, the GCCI. For this video, I will select the default Entra ID tenant for my workforce. Next is the protocol that I wish to implement for single sign-on. I have here a choice of OpenID Connect and SAML 2.0. OpenID Connect is a more richer protocol, I would say, since it not only handles authentication, but also handles authorization, and because of that, I'm able to retrieve an access token on behalf of the user that is signing in with Microsoft. And that access token can then be used by WPO365 to retrieve data on behalf of the user from services such as SharePoint or Power BI or Microsoft Graph. For the moment and for this video, I will select OpenID Connect. There will be another video in which I will demonstrate how you can configure SAML 2.0. Next, I need to decide what type of OpenID Connect flow I wish to implement. Well, the recommended flow is very clearly the authorization code flow. The alternative, the hybrid flow, is basically not recommended unless you would like to also allow users from other tenants to sign into your WordPress website. But that's a completely different story, and I recommend that you have a look at the available documentation if you would like to allow users from other tenants to sign into your WordPress website. The fourth option where I'm offered the choice is the OpenID Connect response mode. The default selected response mode is form post, and I recommend that you leave it like that. You could change it to query, but it's recommended to not do that unless you are trying to fix an issue with a third-party MFA provider like Duo or so. So I'll leave that to form post for the moment. To continue, I need a couple of IDs and a secret. I need the directory, the tenant ID of my Entra ID tenant. I need an application ID and an application secret. Basically what this means is I need to register my WordPress website as an application in my Entra ID tenant. So let's do that. I will navigate to entramicrosoft.com and I open the app registration page in Entra ID. And here I click to create a new app registration, to register a new application. Let's say I'm registering my video demo app, which is of course the WordPress website. And as a supported account type, I say that all users in just my tenant, my single tenant basically, should be allowed access to this WordPress website. And last but not least, I need to specify the redirect URI, which is basically the URL where Microsoft will redirect a user back to after that user authenticated successfully with their Microsoft account. In this case, I quickly return to the WPO365 configuration page and I copy the redirect URI that is shown here, which is basically the site's main page. I paste that exact same URL here and I click to register the website as an application in my Entra ID tenant. And now that I have registered my application, my WordPress website, I can already see that the two IDs that I need are here present on the overview page. The directory, tenant ID. So let's already take that, copy that and paste that as the directory tenant ID on the single sign-on configuration page of the plugin. And do the same thing for the application client ID. Paste that in the corresponding field as well. What you can also see is that a link has now been added and you can always click this link, and when you click the link you will be taken to the Entra portal, to the app registration that you now have just created. But there are a couple of things more that I need to do. Just registering the application is not enough. We have an application ID, we have a directory ID, but we also need to have a secret. The application ID and the secret basically combine two credentials that the application, your WordPress website, can use to authenticate in Microsoft Entra. So let's create a secret. I go to the certificates and secrets page. And here I can click to create a new secret. I can simply click add, and when I click add, this secret will remain valid or will expire after 180 days. So I click add. And now I need to keep track of this date, because after this date, after it expires, this secret, the secret cannot be used and SSO will stop working. And if that's the case, you need to come back, well, best before it expires, for example, in this case, on the 22nd of August of 2026, you have to come back and create a new secret and copy the value of that secret, not the secret ID, and paste it in the corresponding field on the single sign-on configuration page of the WPO365 plugin. Let's make sure that we have copied the secret. Yes, we've done, that's fine. And now we have basically the directory ID, the application ID, and the secret, and the redirect URI. So from the perspective of the plugin, we're already done. But we're not. I have to return to Microsoft Entra. And also please take a note that this secret will only be shown now. And as soon as I navigate away from this page, the secret will not be shown anymore. So you need to probably store this in some password storage system, password manager. So we have created the secret. I have added the website's URL as a redirect URI for my app registration. And now I would like to update the ID token configuration. The ID token is basically the authentication response that we are requesting after the user successfully signed in with Microsoft. And I want that ID token to contain a few optional claims: the email address of the user, the family name of the user, the given name, and the user's user principal name, the login name for their Entra ID account, for their Microsoft 365 account. So I click to add those optional claims. Optionally, I can also add a groups claim. I can select that I want all the IDs of all the groups that the user is a member of to be included in that ID token. The last thing that I need to configure are the API permissions. 2 permissions for email and profile have been added when I added optional claims, but I need at least 2 permissions more for Microsoft Graph, delegated permissions. Under the OpenID permissions section, I would like to add the offline access permission and the OpenID permission as well. I add those permissions and I need to grant admin consent as an administrator for my tenant. So I do that and confirm that I want to do that. If I would leave out that step, then each user needs to consent to the use of those permissions individually. And you probably would like to avoid that simply from a user experience perspective. If this link appears grayed out to you, then it means that you don't have the permissions to click it, and you would need to contact your global administrator so they can click the link for you on your behalf. Our app has been registered and I can return to the WPO365 configuration pages. I have basically filled out all the mandatory fields: the directory ID, the application ID, the application secret, and the redirect URI. So I can scroll down and I can save the configuration. I will receive a warning that now would be a good time to clear all server-side caches. I click close to acknowledge that. I don't have any caches, so I don't need to take any further actions. And now I'm taken to the plugin self-test. You can always also manually go and perform a plugin self-test if you visit the plugin self-test page. You can select it from the menu. If I click Start Self-Test, I will be sent to Microsoft. If I'm not signed in to Microsoft yet, I will be asked to enter my username and the password. But if I'm already sent in, which is the case for me right now, and I click to start the self-test, you can see that I'm quickly being sent to login.microsoftonline.com. But after that, I'm returned to the plugin self-test page. And now a number of tests have been performed. First of all, is the right version of the plugin installed, which seems to be the case. And there were no health messages during this test, which is great news. It means that the test basically went okay. There were no hurdles, nothing really that prevented a single sign-on from working correctly. Then there are a number of tests to check whether the plugin has been configured okay. That seems to be the case. Well, there is one thing with custom domain names, and I can fix that if I would go to the user registration page. And here I can indeed enter the custom domains. These are the domains that will be used for the user principal names by Entra. So this is not about your website ID. I don't need to enter here staging WPO365connect.com. I need to enter here a list of domains that are used to create the cloud users, the Microsoft Entra ID usernames. So I enter here WPO365.com and I save the configuration. And let's return to the plugin self-test and basically repeat the test one more time. And again, send to Microsoft, and I can scroll down, and now I would expect the test for custom domains to pass successfully, which is the case. There's another test whether I want to use the beta version of Microsoft Graph. I can fix it, and if I do, then the plugin will correct this setting and automatically perform the self-test one more time. So the further I scroll down, the more interesting it gets really. And now I'm at the test cases that basically inspect whether the single sign-on had been working successfully. And well, you can have a look yourself. Most importantly here is that the test to decode the ID token was successful, because it means the WPO has been able to retrieve an ID token, but also has been able to decode that ID token and read the information in it. And you can also view for yourself basically what information WPO365 receives. Well, actually, your website is receiving it, the plugin is receiving it on your behalf and is not sharing any information with our website, with our service. The information that is shared between you and Microsoft will never reach our service. I think that is very important for you to understand. I close this overview and I scroll further down. You can have a look yourself, and I can also see that the plugin had been able to request an access token, which is great. And then a number of tests will follow on features that are currently not always supported by the free version of the plugin. So in that case, you will read a notification that no WPO365 extension was found that would enable the feature as such. So I think it's fair to say that single sign-on is working. In case you have any questions, then please click here on the question mark. This will take you to the website, to the contact form, and here we will try and answer your inquiries, your requests for support as soon as possible, but at least within 24 hours during the week or 48 hours during the weekend. So it appears that SSO is working, but let's test it with a real user. And to do that, I will sign in as a different user. I will take a different tab of my browser, a tab that's normally used by John Demo, and I will go to my website. Well, it's an ordinary website, so there's nothing much to see, but let's go to the website's login page. And if I do, I can see that something has changed. There's a sign in with Microsoft button. Before I click that, let's first of all return to the admin view, and let's have a look at the WordPress users that currently exist in this website. And that's only a WordPress user for me, Marco at WPO365.com. So if I switch to the tab of John, and if I would click sign in with Microsoft, what will happen? Well, let's simply click and see what's going on. You can see that it went very quickly. John is already signed into Microsoft in this tab as well. You could see that we were quickly redirected to login.microsoftonline.com and then sent back to the website, and you can see that I'm now signed in as John Demo. But we just actually saw that this user did not exist. So let's switch back to the administrative view and let's refresh the all users page. And now you can see that a user has been created. A user with email demo@wpo365.com with the name of John Demo. This user was previously not here, and it has been created by WPO365 the moment that this user signed in with Microsoft. If that is something that you would not like to happen, then you could go to the user registration configuration page of the plugin, and you could then check the option to create a new user in WordPress. So let's do that, and let's save the updated configuration. Let's return to the users page, and let's actually simply delete this the new user that was created. Let's now switch back to the profile of John Demo. He's still signed in, of course, but I sign out, and basically this screen already indicates that the user did not exist anymore, was not found. And let's repeat what we did before. I click sign in with Microsoft. And now the user can't sign in because there's no matching user. There's no user that can be matched by his object ID, by his email address, or by his Microsoft user principal name. He can't log in right now. So let's continue again to the tab of the administrator. And if I refresh the page, you can see that there is a notification that there is a WPO365 health issue. If I click here, I'm taken to the configuration pages, and automatically the health messages panel folds out and shows me that there was an attempt to create a user, but that attempt failed because the user was not found and the settings prevented creating that new user. Okay, that's fine. Let's dismiss that error. I know what to do. I could fix this again to go to the user registration page and either check this box, or I could return to the user page and manually create a user. Say I create a user JDemo, and that user has as an email address, which will be the matching, argument, or the item that will be used by WPO to match the user with the user signing in from Microsoft. And let's say this is John Demo. Well, actually, let's leave it as John Demo like this with an error. And let's add this user. So now we have a user that I manually created. And let's switch back to John's tab. And let's try again whether we can sign in. And we can. We can sign in as John Demo. So I can see on my profile that this is the manually created user, not something that was created by WPO365. I am back as an administrator, and on my dashboard, I want to have a quick look. Remember that I clicked Insights and enabled it in the beginning of this video. And now if I scroll all the way to the bottom, there I can see that there were a number of SSO attempts to sign in, and they were successful. Before I go, there are a couple of more things that I would like to share with you. For example, how can you protect your complete site for anonymous users? What if your website is targeting a closed user group? You could go to the roles and access configuration page of the plugin and change the authentication scenario to intranet. Doing so will basically require a user to sign in first before they can access the website. Let's save this and have a quick look. Again, to test this, I will return to the tab of John Demo. I will sign out of the website, and I will now simply return to the main site of the page. And let's see what happens. I'm redirected to Microsoft and I'm signed in as John Demo again. So that worked. The site is no longer available to just anybody. You first need to sign in. It's an intranet, or at least a closed user group. A site for a closed user group. Let's log out. Let's return to the admin view. Now let's have a look at the login and logout page. Because here I could, for instance, also say that I don't want this admin bar to show for people who are just subscribers, which John Demo in our case is. Also, I could change the default landing page after a user clicks the login button to WP admin. So let's do that as well. And let's save this configuration. Let's switch back to the tab of John. So if I now sign in, I would expect to land at the administration side of the website, which it does. And if I go to the front page instead, then I don't see the admin bar. So that's just a very simple helper to turn your WordPress website into an intranet. And last but not least, what if you would like to change the login button? You could again go to the plugins login and logout page. You could scroll down a little bit further, and here you have, for example, an option to change the text on the button. Say, for instance, you want to have something in Dutch. You want to say aanmelden met Microsoft. It's not a problem. You can just simply change the caption of the button here. Or if you don't want to show the button at all, because you just are happy how SSO works for WP admin by default, you could actually also choose to hide the button. Let's save that configuration and let's have one other look how that looks, for example, for John. If John logs out, then you can see that he now sees the caption of the button in the Dutch language. Let's one more time return to the admin view and let's have a quick look here. There is a shortcode which you can simply copy to your clipboard, which you could place on any page or post in your intranet. So let's create a new page, which would be a login button demo, and let's simply put the shortcode on this page. Let's publish that page and let's view that page. And now you can see it renders the default button. I can click it, it will send me to Microsoft and I'm authenticated again. Well, I was already authenticated, so no big surprise there. But that's how you can customize your button and also place the button on several other places in your website. That's it. We've implemented single sign-on, Microsoft-based single sign-on, using the WPO365 plugin. Please make sure to visit the website WPO365.com to learn about other exciting use cases. Use cases you can implement when you need to connect the Microsoft Cloud with your WordPress website. And also, if it works for you and you're happy, then tell others about it. Leave a review in the WordPress plugins directory. It's a great help for others to find the WPO365 plugin, and it's much appreciated by us as well. Thank you very much.